The movie tells the story of the meeting of two young people, Jesse and Celine, who meet by chance on a train. Jesse is American and Celine is French, both young and traveling in Europe. They begin a conversation sitting across from each other in a train car when they hear an argument between an elderly couple. This conversation immediately sets the tone of their conversation light, casual, but with elements of deep reflection on life. Jesse suggests that Celine get off the train with him in Vienna, as he has no money for a hotel and plans to spend the night just walking around the city before catching a plane back to America in the morning. Celine, despite the fact that it is a spontaneous proposal, agrees. There is a sense of anticipation of something special in their decision to spend the day and night together, something exciting that is only possible in a situation like this. They begin their walk around Vienna, exploring the city with its narrow streets, ancient architecture, and relaxed atmosphere. They first visit a park where they begin to share stories about themselves. Jesse reveals that he flew to Europe to meet a girl, but their relationship didn't work out and now he's returning home. Celine shares her thoughts on life, love, and studying in Paris. Their dialogue flows easily and naturally. They move from one topic to another, discussing their dreams, fears, expectations from life and feelings. Each of their lines reveals the inner world of the characters more and more. They enter a music store, where Jesse offers to choose one record to listen to together in a listening booth. At this moment, a certain intimacy is established between them. They look at each other, but at the same time are confused by it. The music creates an intimate atmosphere, and although they are not yet ready to admit their feelings, it is already evident that their connection is growing deeper. They leave the store and continue their walk through the city, stopping at cafes and small restaurants. Here they reveal even more of their souls to each other. Jesse talks about his skepticism about long-term relationships, and Celine talks about her romantic ideals and belief in love. Their conversations become increasingly personal, each sharing their vulnerabilities and experiences. They walk into the church where they sit down in a pew and continue to talk. Jesse begins to talk about his childhood and the experiences that shaped his worldview, while Celine talks about her fear of loneliness and how she often feels lost in the world. An emotional connection grows between them. Later, they are taken to a performance by a street poet who suggests they write a poem using any word they choose. Celine chooses the word milky and the poet creates a beautiful and touching poem that seems to reflect the feelings between them. Even if they are not yet ready to admit it, they then board the ferry and begin to discuss their past relationship. Jesse talks candidly about his failure in love, and how his past relationships have broken down due to a lack of trust and understanding. Celine, in turn, talks about how she is constantly in search of something real, but is often faced with disappointments. In these moments, you can see how they both fear being vulnerable, but at the same time have a deep need to be understood and accepted. Their dialogues are filled with honesty, each open to showing their true selves to the other. Later, they enter a cafe where they order wine and continue to discuss their views on love, life, and the future. In this cafe, their conversation turns to the topic of death and the meaning of life, which shows how willing they are to delve into the most serious and complex issues. They discuss their fears about the finality of life and try to figure out how to live in a way that they won't regret anything. This dialogue is very important to understanding their characters because it shows how deeply they think about their lives and how this encounter changes their views. After the cafe, they continue their walk through the city and the night becomes more and more magical. They walk through the streets of Vienna, going into different places, and it seems like the whole city becomes the backdrop for their personal story. They walk into a bar where they play a game of truth or dare that allows them to open up even more. Jesse and Celine begin to confess their secret desires and fears to each other, and in these moments they become even closer. Eventually their conversation turns to the topic of the future, and Jesse suggests that they not exchange contact, but meet in 6 months at the same place to see what will become of their feelings. They head to the place where Jesse is supposed to board the train, and their parting becomes increasingly emotional. They realize that this night has had a huge impact on them, and each of them is afraid of losing what has developed between them. Jesse and Celine exchange last looks and kisses, but their goodbye is filled with hope and promise. In the end, they decide not to exchange contact, leaving everything to fate.